Welcome to Influential Entrepreneurs, bringing you interviews with elite business leaders and experts, sharing tips and strategies for elevating your business to the next level. Here's your host, Mike Saunders.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Influential Entrepreneurs. This is Mike Saunders with Marketing Huddle. Today we have with us Lynn Eleoff, who is an internet business lawyer and creator of the DIY Legal Toolkit. Welcome to the program, Lynn.
Hey, Mike. Thanks for having me on your show.
You're welcome. And just give us a little bit of background, what led you down the entrepreneurial path. Of course, being an attorney is that foundation, but then you went on to start, something where other entrepreneurs can utilize your, knowledge and information and learning from your mistakes. So give us a little bit of background that way, and then what is the DIY Legal Toolkit?
Sure. So I knew that I wanted to work for myself, that I was really not a very good employee. And I thought, I would like to start something groundbreaking. Taking a law office online was kind of something new. So in researching setting up my own business, hanging up my shingle on the internet, I realized that there was a whole lot of legal stuff that really wasn't very clear. And I thought, wow, if I'm having to do a lot of research here, how is the, layman entrepreneur handling this? What are they doing to protect their online businesses? And not only that, their personal assets, because we put ourselves at risk whenever we're opening up a business. And so in talking to people, I realized that they weren't doing much, and so many were not protected. Even established entrepreneurs, much to my surprise, didn't have some very key pieces in place to really make sure that they reduced their risk of liability. And so I thought, well, this is ideal. I loved the idea of that. I loved working for myself and helping other people who wanted to run their own businesses, most of them from home, many of them coaches. And so that's how my business was born. The other part of it, the DIY Legal Toolkit, well, we all know that when we're starting up in business, many of us don't have a lot of money to throw at everything, so we have to sort of pick and choose where we want to spend that money. And I created this DIY Legal Toolkit because there is so much that entrepreneurs can actually do themselves before they actually have to hire a lawyer. So that's how I created the toolkit, and it's packed with all kinds of things that you can do yourself to cover your assets online and also your personal assets.
I love it because I think that so many times people don't it's like the old saying, you don't know what you don't know. But once you do know it or understand that it's a thing, then what do you do about it? So give us a few examples of some of the things that you've worked on with clients or seen out there that kind of caused you to add another element of your toolkit, and a couple things like you hear this commonly, which is, hey, a picture on your website is not really yours, or where did you get it? And I think that a lot of times people feel like, well, I thought that I did it right. I didn't just right-click save as. I, got it from, this site, and it said, royalty-free, but you're maybe not using it in the right way.
Exactly, right. So you are so right, Mike, when you say we don't know what we don't know, and that's where we are so vulnerable. It's that part of, not knowing. But then the next part is, once you do know, what do you do next? Do you stick your head in the sand and hope it doesn't happen to you, or do you take action and cover up? And a lot of entrepreneurs are deterred by what they perceive to be a very daunting task of either hiring a lawyer and figuring it all out, or do they just hope and pray and cross their fingers that nothing bad happens? And a lot of them make the mistake of thinking that, well, I'm so small, nothing's going to happen to me. The thing is with the shysters that are online, that is not a legal term, but they know that the little guy is the one who is not protected. And so that's who they go after. The big guns with their fancy lawyers and all of that, they are protected. So you really are more exposed and more vulnerable as a small business owner. Here's an example. A woman a doctor who wanted to take her business online hired a web designer, web developer. They created this beautiful website for her. She went online, pushed the live button, and within a few weeks received a letter in the mail, registered letter, saying that you owe $16,000 for the unauthorized use of images on your website. Well, you can imagine how that's going to feel to receive a letter like that in the mail. And it was all because she left it up to a web designer, developer who made this beautiful site and grabbed pictures from who knows where without permission. And it all came down on her. She was the one responsible because it was her business. And that kind of thing happens all the time. Entrepreneurs just think, well, if it's on Google, then that means I can use it. Or if it says royalty free, that means I'm free to use it. And that's not the case in either of those cases where it's on Google. No, that doesn't mean you're free to use it. And royalty free does not mean you're free to use those images. You have to pay for them. You just don't have to pay royalties once you buy the license.
But yet there are some places, I can't list them out, but I'm positive that I've seen them where they are both free and royalty free. So you just got to know where to fish, which pond to fish in, right?
Absolutely. So you need to be informed. That is so empowering for entrepreneurs to just know where they can, where they can go fishing safely without getting eaten by a shark, because the internet is infested with sharks. And so when it comes to images, for example, you want to make sure that if you want to use free, as in you don't want to have to pay for those images, then you have to make sure that you have the permission to do so. And the best thing to look for is what's called a Creative Commons Zero license. And that basically means that that image is dedicated to the public domain, and that means you're able to use the image without restriction. So that's the best kind of image and authorization that you could look for. It's called a Creative Commons Zero license, or CC Zero, and you can look for that. And there are websites that do offer those types of images. For example, Pixabay, Unsplash. So you want to go to websites like that, or Google images with a Creative Commons Zero license, and then find websites that offer those images. And then, so there are a couple of steps here, you want to make sure that the image you want is in fact a Creative Commons Zero license, because sometimes they're all kind of mixed in together. You want to get a copy of that license and take a snapshot or a screenshot of that. If you're going to use that image, then you've got that as backup, as proof that you had permission to use the image.
That is a lot of work.
That's a lot of work. Well, so there are some websites where you can absolutely find these Creative Commons Zero images, and they are, for the most part, all free to use without restriction. But again, you want to make sure that you're okay. It may be work, or it may be what saves your butt in the long run. Yeah. I personally like to, I have used the CC0 licenses, but I have a service where I pay for images, and then I can just pick and choose. I get 100 images I buy 100 images at a time, and then I can just pick and choose them. There's no expiration date, and I feel really good knowing that these are all royalty-free images that I've paid for and that I'm covered.
So what site is that? What's a good one to go to?
Well, there are several. There's Stock Photo. There's Getty Images. They're they seem to be more expensive. I use depositphotos.com, and they if you are on appsumo.com, they sometimes run specials where you can get images, 100 images for, a fraction of the cost that you might normally pay, which is probably $1 an image, and I think you can get it down to 40 cents an image.
Yeah, I use Deposit Photos as well, and I do like the fact that you can, buy that block, whatever the dollar figure is, and then you just, go search. And the other aspect, too, that I've noticed with some of these online places, whatever you might go look at, sometimes they're not really wonderful. You're looking for a picture of a whatever, and you start looking, and it's like, oh, that's just, not high quality. Deposit Photos is a really good high quality image, not only resolution wise, but they're good pictures. They tell the story well. So I do like that one a whole lot.
Agree, totally.
So let's move over to what about, what if you find a competitor and you're like, ooh, that's a really good approach they're taking to business, and I have a similar product, so I'm going to go copy this entire page and put up my website. We would never do that. But on the other hand, some people do that, every day, right? And I know you can put things on your website, the copyscape kind of things that would prevent or alert you. So let's talk about some of that, because I think there's a big thing where people will, model success, success leaves clues, or things like that you hear some of the gurus talking about, and they're like, well, hey, if Tom did it this way, I'm going to do it that way too. And there's a fine line between, tipping your hat to someone and modeling them, or just going copy and paste. And so what's the right way? Obviously we want to do it the right way, but what's a way that we can make sure someone's not taking our good hard work that we've worked on, and maybe we've researched something and written a white paper or put up some good content on our website, and then we find out that someone else is using, super similar to what we've already done. How do you find that out, and what do you do?
So first of all, a hat tip is never going to be enough. So if you want to, say, use an image or use someone else's content or refer to something on their website, just by giving a mention to them and saying that they created this or whatever, that's not enough. So that you are not covered by doing that. And likewise, no one else can just say, refer to your content or take a block of content and give you attribution. So attribution isn't enough. The copyright holder is the one who gets to decide if anyone else can place their original work on someone else's website. So, for example, if you have content, Mike, and I'd like to use it, I would have to get your permission to use it. Simply putting it on my website and saying that that this is your, that you wrote this would not be enough. You could come after me and say, I never gave you permission, and I wouldn't have given you permission, and therefore, if I've made money off of use of that content, then you could sue me for damages in that regard. However, if I'm just using it in more of I'm just referencing you and I am not using it to sell my own product or to make money off of it, then that might be considered fair use, where you are simply referencing someone. That's kind of what we see in magazines and newspapers and that sort of content, where you are just editorializing and talking about someone else's work without using it for your commercial benefit. If someone does come after or does take your copy, and this just happened the other day to a coach who was saying that her content was taken word for word and she found it on another website. And that's really tough. So first of all, you want to have a copyright notice on your website, and you want to make sure that you put the copyright notice up correctly. So it should have the little C symbol, the year, and then the owner of the copyright, presumably you. And if you're an LLC, then you want to put that up there. But it's not absolutely necessary. Once you create any content, you are the copyright owner, and you don't have to have that copyright notice up on your website, at least not in the United States. But without notice, without giving notice to people, they can claim innocent infringement. Oh, I didn't know that was your copy. I didn't know. That's going to be the defense, and so you'll have to fight that.
Isn't that kind of like when you're going down the road and you see those signs that say posted, no trespassing? So I'm actually posting this notice, don't come on my property, so that someone couldn't just say, oh, I wandered on and I didn't know. So kind of
exactly.
like that's the internet version of posted no trespassing.
Absolutely. Giving notice. When people have notice, then they can't claim innocence, right? Oh, I had no idea. So that's why we give notice. Another way to protect yourself even more strongly than just, that would be called common law copyright. So if you're simply giving notice, you have that protection. It's common law, it's in your state. But you want to have federal registration. If this is copy that is really important to you and your business and your brand, then you want to register that copyright with the U.S. Copyright Office. It's not expensive. You can do this yourself. It's a fairly easy process and something that I do describe and walk you through in the DIY Legal Toolkit. But that gives you more protection, and it also gives you a right to go after damages. So without that, you're very limited in what you can do, but you're not completely powerless. If somebody steals your content, the first thing that you would do is send them a notice directly to cease and desist, take the copy down immediately, and show them the URL where your work is sitting on the internet, so that you're sort of staking a claim with some proof that you are the rightful owner of that material. If that doesn't work, then you would send what's called a DMCA, Takedown Notice, Digital Millennium Copyright Act, to the Internet Service Provider. So, for example, if your website sits on a particular web hosting service, then the letter would be sent to them. That company is responsible for shutting down the site until there is a resolution or until that material is removed. So there is a process, there is recourse. If that doesn't work, then, at that point you have to decide, how far do I want to take this? Do I want to hire a lawyer? Depending on whether they've made money because they're using your material, that's where it starts to get, like, you have to really decide what you want to do. It's a tough one. It's heartbreaking when somebody steals your stuff and you feel like you're helpless.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And it's not like you're not busy enough doing your business and your coaching, your consulting, your whatever business that you're in, brick and mortar, and now you got to worry about all of these things. So for those that kind of want to look a little bit deeper into protecting their assets online and not, going out and hiring an attorney, your do-it-yourself legal toolkit would fit that model. So what's the best way that someone can learn more about that and see if that might be a right fit for them?
So you can go to DIYLegalToolkit.com, and it outlines everything that is in the toolkit. It really is just about everything you can think of, including, the documents that you must have on your website. For example, your privacy policy, your terms and conditions, and a disclaimer. Those 3 documents you really should have on your website right away, right up front. And in the toolkit, I give you templates so that you can create those on your own. How to form an LLC when you're ready to break up with your sole proprietorship. So you may be ready to form an LLC, and I walk you through that. Each state has its own set of rules, and I show you where to go to find find out how to comply exactly with your particular state. Setting up a partnership, contracts, all of that, a client services agreement. These are all the things that are included in there that it's like a little, it's a very cool resource for you. Whenever you come up against something, you can go in there and look it up, and there are directions and templates and checklists for how to get it done.
Excellent. I love that concept, and I hope that people take advantage of that. So thank you so much for coming on today, Lynn. It was really great knowledge and great examples and tips and strategies, so really appreciate your time.
You're very welcome, Mike. Thank you for having me.
You've been listening to Influential Entrepreneurs with Mike Saunders. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit www.influentialentrepreneurssradio.com.